that we can start this webinar. I see some attendees still joining us, but because we've got a decent number of audience already, I think we'll just go ahead and start this webinar. Uh, to start with, I'd like to thank you a lot. Thank you very much for joining us today and for listening in on a very interesting topic, which is, I'm sure really close to every sales head's heart. Yeah, it's corporate sales enablement, and we're going to talk about a path-breaking product and innovation that we've embarked upon that works with sales heads across the globe, across any specific industry, to proliferate sales efforts within their teams and bring smarter insights to close sales faster. I'm going to start with the certain industry highlights and reports and research reports and certain data about how sales typically pan out. Then move on to discuss some more numbers, both in terms of what really plays importance from a sales enablement perspective and how important it is for every sales head to ensure that the team and the workforce, the sales force, is equipped with the right technology tools that can help them proliferate the sales efforts. Once we are through with that, I will like to kind of put some focus on the product that we're going to discuss about today. It's called Docket Zoom, and I'm going to talk about that product, and I'm going to talk about certain features that help sales heads uh, achieve the objective of enabling their sales teams with the right technological assets. And towards the end, I'm going to give you a brief introduction, brief background about Hurix Systems as an organization and the kind of stuff that we've been doing uh, with our customers through the globe. And after that, I think we can take questions. So if you notice, you will have a questions panel on your webinar interface. So once we are done with the presentation, we can take your questions and respond them. So in the meanwhile, if during the presentation you have any questions, please feel free to keep adding them on the questions panel so that we can take them later. So here we go. All right. So like I said, we're going to start with some insights and some research reports that highlight what does really knowledge gap mean, and why is it the biggest reason why the sales guys are not able to close deals. So Serious Decisions is obviously a known organization who does research in terms of sales and supports CSOs and sales heads globally in identifying gaps on the sales side of things. Now an interesting insight that they bring out is that salespeople spend 70%, 71% of their time not selling. Right, so and I think every sales head would also kind of realize that it is not usually the poor sales skills that kind of bring a sales guy down or not kind of let them perform their job with utmost efficiency, but it's usually a lot of other things that are associated with not being able to perform well. So the research from Serious Decisions states that about 26% of this can be attributed to inability to communicate value messages. Now, obviously, I mean, this one can say that this is part of a sales guy's skills, but it is also in a way that how well and how in what sense do they understand the offering, they understand the product or the solution or the service that they're trying to sell. Right, so which in other words relates to sales enablement, where it's the responsibility of a sales head to ensure that their team and their workforce understands the product or the service that they're trying to sell and are able to articulate that service through collaterals or through appropriate documents to the prospect. Now they also attribute about 24% of the reasons to about information gap. Now, this is again from a sales enablement point of view. I'm sorry. This is also a very important factor because from being a sales head, you should be able to provide all the tools and arms and ammunitions that you need to give to your teams, both in terms of product or service knowledge, and ensure that they're up to date in terms of any new factors that have come into the product or any new services that are being launched by the organization. So, this information gap is also kind of related to, again, process documentation or any kind of specific product offerings or service presentations or collaterals that need to go out to the sales guys or brochures that need to go out to them, explaining them, how the product or the service typically works. Now, another important reason is about, they say that about 21% reason can be attributed to having too many products to know about. And this is a classic reason. I mean, we belong to a product organization, and we can kind of endorse this to a great extent, that if there is a product stack which exceeds a certain number, and a sales guy is kind of carrying a bouquet of all these products and going to the prospect, it can create a lot of confusion, and it can create a lot of knowledge gap, in the sense that which product fits perfectly with what prospect, and how do you kind of approach that from a sales point of view. Now, all of this combined, right? So if you see, it's about what, around 70 to 75% reasons are kind of attributed to mostly knowledge gap as a higher reason, and that knowledge gap essentially can be fulfilled by ensuring that you have the right sales enablement strategy in place, and you have the right tools that can enable that strategy for your sales force. Now, basically, essentially you're saying in summary that you have to drastically improve their productivity by enabling them to focus on what they're hired for, which is, of course, selling. So, and in today's age, I mean, it's really important to have the right tools in place for our sales force to be able to do their job perfectly. Now, sales enablement, like I said, so I kept repeating this term, which is obviously very important from a chief sales officer's perspective or a sales head's, perspective. So, there was a survey done by profitable channels of sales heads across various verticals and geographies, and some startling facts kind of came out. And 90% of the sales head had to say that, are the sales content that we prepare for our guys is not actually used by them in real time, or even ever used by them. Now, if you ask a sales head, and I am one of those, so if somebody tells me that we invest X amount of efforts and time and cost on building collaterals and building presentations and ensuring that there's enough sales support content available to the direct sales guys, and if somebody tells me that they're not using it at all, of course it is going to cause a lot of pain and a lot of trouble to me, because there is investment that goes into making that content, and then it has to be used. Now, the reason why it is probably not being used to a great extent is it's because it is not available in a way that the sales guys really want. It's a generation that is on the move. They use multiple devices, and you just got to ensure that this information is available, is handy to them at whatever time that they want it to be. Now, again, 80% of training that you'd give to your sales guys is not retained after 60 days. Now, this is also a startling fact, and I think it's not news to all the sales heads that you have to keep your sales force engaged, and kind of continue check on their knowledge and do a dipstick at least once in 2 or 3 months to understand if they're up to date with the product or the service that they're trying to sell, because we are living in times that involve innovation at a much faster pace, both in terms of product and services that organizations offer. And it's important that the sales force is up to date with what is the latest offering. And you might get a guy in and you train them and you bring them up to speed. Usually it is like they don't retain all of that knowledge post 60 days unless they're deeply involved and they're kind of actively involved in a lot of customer conversations. Now, of course, it's a good idea to bring them back into a room after 60 days and kind of give them more refresher trainings. But is that something that every sales head wants to do at timely intervals? I don't think so. Because it's important that you give them the right tools again so that they're able to retain that knowledge. Now, again, a lot of sales heads bring up a methodology. So they take up a role and they try to build a methodology and say, this is how we're going to approach towards our sales processes. And 25% of the people who were interviewed, who were surveyed, said that we do make methodologies, but they're probably used less than half of the time. Now, it's a reason because there is no way to track if your methodology is being used. There is no way to track if your content is being used, and there are no tools available that can kind of help you analyze in real time that if all your content, if all your processes are being followed the way they've been set up, right? Now, obviously, as sales heads, we do believe that our sales enablement strategy is on track. But according to this survey, about 30% of them are currently implementing sales enablement solutions. Now, they're saying that 89% believe that the strategy is on track, but just about 30% of them are implementing sales enablement solutions. So that tells us that there is a huge gap in terms of what people believe and what is the actual state on ground. And therefore there is a startling need for sales heads and chief sales officers to start thinking of solutions that they can adopt, which can help them uh, help their sales teams, sales force that's on the ground, which can also assist them in tracking exactly what's the sales force doing, if the content that they're investing cost and time on is being consumed, is being used properly. uh, and why just the sales team? I would take one step ahead and say that every sales head should have insights into what their prospect is doing, right? And I think that's one thing. If you tell a sales head that we will give you an opportunity, a tool that can help you monitor activity of your prospect on a bid that you've submitted, for example. And I think it is one of the biggest tools that any sales head can possibly get, because that gives you a direct view into what your prospect is, how they're behaving on the proposal or the bid that they've shared. So basically we're trying to say here is that there are issues from a sales enablement and sales strategy implementation perspective. uh, Theoretically, we may believe that it's all in place, but these numbers clearly explain that there is a definite need for us to move towards platforms that can help us track and enable our sales guys better. Also, again, cost. I mean, so we all know that it takes a lot of effort and it takes a lot of investment in terms of setting up sales teams, getting the right sales guys in place. A Forrester report suggests that a typical technology company, they spend about $135,000 per salesperson each year in sales support activity, right? So now when I say sales support, it's quite clear that it's in terms of ensuring that they're the right environment, they've got the right sales support, both in terms of collaterals or presentations or marketing support, etc. So that's a huge amount of money that each typical technology company would spend on one sales guy. I mean, imagine a company having about 10 or 50 kind of sales force, and so they're spending that times, 10 times or 50 times of that amount in ensuring that that there's enough sales support available for the on-ground sales force. Now, once you're doing that kind of spending, and we just discussed in previous slides that a lot of sales heads believe that about 50% of that is probably not even getting them the results that they want, because most of the people 90% of the people are not even referring to the sales support material that you provide to them. So in other words, you're saying that you're spending all this money and then it is not actually being utilized, and the utilization rates are less than 10%. So that obviously kind of calls for an introspection into how you can ensure that the spend that you're doing drives you the results that you really want. uh, Also, I mean, some other numbers: it takes efforts to ramp up new sales hires, right? So these are absolute ballpark numbers, and we at our positions and different roles that we manage, we know that it costs money to bring up new sales guys, and obviously they're not easy to find as well. So you spend money to find the right sales guys, and then you spend then there's cost involved to give them the adequate sales support, and then there's cost involved to bring them up to speed. And after doing all of that, if we are not able to track exactly what they're doing on the field, and we're not able to track if our investments that we've made are drawing any results in retrospect, then all of this investment is actually not getting you any ROI, right? Now, are there tools available that can help us drastically improve their productivity and reduce these costs, so that they can, kind of focus primarily on their job, which is selling? The answer to that is yes. There are tools available, and that's my next slide. So, what if we tell you that there are these we have this sales enablement tool, uh, which works across all the five major pillars of sales enablement, right? So we start from onboarding a sales guy into the system. So you need to build your sales force, you hire somebody, and then you need to onboard them. Then once the person is in the system, then you have to give them ongoing training to ensure that they're up to date with your product offerings and service offerings. You also got to ensure that there's enough knowledge sharing happening within the sales team. So there's internal communication which is robust, and there is collaboration between your sales teams, and they're sharing insights from all their conversations with prospects, and their market knowledge and their industry knowledge and the changes that are happening. So it's important there is a constant internal communication between them. And obviously the fourth channel, wherein you give them the pre-sales prospect engagement support, and things like that, where it's an important pillar where you give them enough support from a pre-sales perspective to be able to perform their job. And I think one of the most important pillars, I would rather say this is the most important, is where post-sale communication comes in place. So you know you you enable your sales force to be able to communicate with the prospect through a channel wherein that communication from the time it starts can be monitored and can be tracked. So the example that I said, that if I'm a direct sales guy, and if I'm working on a requirement with a prospect, I submit a proposal, a techno-commercial proposal maybe, to for that requirement to the prospect, and I send that proposal through a tool, through a technology that is device agnostic, and that lets me track exactly how much time is my prospect spending on each page. So if my commercials are on page number 5, and if the prospect is spending more time on that page than on other areas of the proposal, I know exactly that they're you know maybe concerned about the commercials, or that's something that is going to drive this deal for me as a sales guy, and so on and so forth. So it's a tool that can let you get into and let you get complete insights in terms of how your prospect is behaving on a document that you've shared with them, right? uh, Now, this is obviously, five pillars of sales enablement, but as a sales head, you can also track what your team is doing and how is your team performing, and you can also, being a sales head, kind of track what the customers or the prospects are behaving for each of your sales guys. So it's, we're talking about a tool that can let you do all of this and manage, all these five pillars of sales enablement, right? Now, to put it in like one sentence, we're saying enabling existing sales force to be more productive and close deals faster. That's Docket Zoom for you. So Docket Zoom is our is Hurix Systems' latest product offering, and it's a new addition to our product stack. And this product is kind of built with a view to support sales heads across geographies and across verticals. So it can be adopted by any sales head that has a team of 5 on the ground sales staff, or maybe 500. So the scale is not is irrelevant in that perspective, and it can help sales heads in driving all these 5 pillars of sales enablement while being able to track exactly what their teams are doing on the ground with the pre-sales support stuff that you've shared with them. So like I said, right, so Docket Zoom kind of enables sales heads, sales reps, as well as customers. So the slide that's on your screen right now, it clearly indicates how this typically works. So if I'm a sales head and I've got a team of about 5 people looking at, say, various verticals, I assign them sales support material, I assign them corporate presentations or brochures and whatever my pre-sale support material is. It may be different from each of my guys. So for example, if one of my guys is looking at, say the aerospace industry, and the offering for aerospace is a little different, I can give them all the sales support material for aerospace. The other guy is probably looking at manufacturing. I give it to them for manufacturing, and so on and so forth. Now, as a sales head, I'm able to assign all that content to these guys through a device agnostic platform. So and with ease, right? And then once I've assigned all of this content, the sales rep can further distribute it to the end prospect or the end customer, right? So if they go into a meeting and the meeting went well, the customer says that, okay, why don't you share this presentation with me? The sales rep can do it right away through whatever device they operate on and just send it to the customer. Now, what happens once the whole cycle is complete? As a sales head, I'm able to monitor if my sales rep is using that content, because I get fed in analytics of the time spent by the sales guy on that particular piece of content. But I can also see that he's forwarded that content to a set of prospects, and we can monitor the activity that prospects or customers are doing on that particular presentation. The sales rep, on the other hand, can also monitor the activity that the customer or the prospect is doing on that piece of presentation. So basically, you're able to assign content in in a smooth fashion in across devices. Then you're able to also analyze the activity and kind of make your action plan based on the activity that your team or your customers are doing on that piece of presentation. Now, obviously, when we talk about such platforms, we want to ensure stuff like, ease of use. So it's as I said, it's a device agnostic platform, and it can be used across various platforms like Android, iOS, or maybe through your browsers, so online through PC, Mac, and so in this generation of bring your own device kind of environment where Salesforce guys and your sales guys are using their own devices, they're on the move all the time. You want to ensure ease for them, and then of course they're also able to forward from that particular device that piece of presentation or content to the end prospect by a simple click. They just click, put an email ID, and the document goes, and that's the tracking starts right from there. So I'm going to go a little more deeper into the features of this product. So what you see on my screen right now is a snapshot of an iOS app of Docket Zoom. So this is our application on the iOS platform. What you see on the top is a bookshelf, which typically is a shelf that contains all the presentations, and it can contain all the brochures, etc., that you want to allocate to that sales member, and then they can further distribute it and share it with other people. Now, like I said, it's the ease of use that really makes the difference. It's pretty easy to assign. You can just distribute your content to your reps within seconds without any hassle. So all you need to have is all your documents kind of uploaded, and you have this central repository from where you can choose and select and just share and assign content to your sales reps. You can keep a track of all your collateral distribution and how our end users are interacting with those collaterals. So like I said, we feed in analytics back to you at various levels. So you can track what your sales reps are doing, and then you can also track what the end eventual customer or prospect, how are they interacting with those collaterals. Now, I think one of the most important points here is that it's always available, right? So it's on a tap of your finger, right? So whichever device that you use, you get access to all your relevant marketing collaterals anytime, anywhere. So you don't have to be available within your office intranet or within your corporate environment to be able to access all your content. Once you put it on this platform, it's secured, it's encrypted, and it's available anytime. So so you don't need to really worry about the time of the day or night, or even weekends for that matter. Now, I think one of the difficulties and challenges that we spoke about earlier during the presentation was specific content. If there are too many products or too many services to a sales rep, uh, I'm sorry, that a sales rep is chasing, it's important that you need to drive their focus back, and they're able to ensure that the right kind of content or the right kind of pitch is being made to a specific prospect. Now, so that in other words means that it has to be very deal specific content, right? So what you can also do in the platform that we're talking about, Docket Zoom lets you categorize and lets you, kind of save time in terms of hunting for the right set of content, because you can categorize your content from the product or service offering that you have from that perspective, and just again at the click of the button you can just scroll through and search and get to the right content in like seconds. Another important point here is that there are no geographical limitations for that matter. Wherever you go, I mean, connectivity is never an issue with Docket Zoom, and your collaterals are always available in an online and offline mode. Now, this is very interesting. So when I say offline, right? So you don't need to be connected to internet all the time to be able to access your content. Now, this content is made available in an online as well as in an offline mode. So for your native applications, which is your iOS or Android or Windows devices, once you've downloaded all the content, after it's been allocated, then it can be accessed in an offline mode. So you don't need to be connected all the time. Wherever you are at whatever time of the day, that content is available for you with the features of being able to search the right content. Now, I can say with experience that some client meetings that you may go into, and you go to a client's office, into their office, and probably they've got restrictions, and then you can't access Wi-Fi for some reason, and somehow it works out that you don't have internet connectivity. But you need to show that particular presentation, and now that's not available in an offline mode to you. But Docket Zoom, kind of solves that problem for you. So you can have all your content in one place, categorized by the type of product or service that you're pitching for, and then also be able to present it in an offline mode. So that kind of resolves a lot of issues for many of the sales guys that face similar kind of situations. Like I said, it supports all devices and platforms. So, it's device agnostic. You can view the documents on either your computer or a laptop. You can download them to your iPads or devices, Android devices or Windows devices, or even smartphones. Uh, and because it's device agnostic, your content is obviously always available with you wherever you are. Okay, now this is again an interesting feature that I spoke about. So if I'm in a meeting, and if you're in a meeting with a prospect, and you showed a presentation to them or a brochure to them, and it comes out that they want you to send it across to them through email, which happens I think 9 out of 10 times in sales conversations. So you don't really need to go to your email and start typing that and then send it via email and things like that, and need internet for that. So what Docket Zoom lets you do is, the moment you're done with the presentation and you need to share it, there is share, one tap sharing button. You just press it, put the email ID of your prospect, and just say send. Now what happens is, this document is instantly shared with your prospect on the Docket Zoom platform. Your prospect can simply go and log into the Docket Zoom platform, or download, the app, and just, start consuming that content. The moment they start doing it is where the fun really starts, because now the sales guy is able to gain insights and get analytics specific to the reading pattern or the content consumption pattern of that prospect. So like I said, for a proposal, maybe they're looking at commercial section for a longer period of time as compared to the other sections of the proposal, or they're probably looking at the technical solution that you've provided to them, etc., etc. So that is a boost for a sales guy, because that tells me exactly what should be my next move for this particular prospect, because I know what their concern may be, or what is it that drives this deal more than any other thing that we've discussed. So and obviously, I mean, it's there's no ambiguity left, right? So you're eradicating that question of ambiguity around your prospect's interaction with your brochure in your absence. Right, so that's at a very high level in terms of what Docket Zoom does. It's we've tried to keep it very straightforward. We've tried to keep it very targeted to the sales community, and it's simple to use. Like I said, it's usually has a 2 to 3 step process. In most cases, just a one-step process for doing a lot of stuff. So it's one-tap sharing. If I were to start from how the document goes, I think it's a two-step process just to upload some documents, and then it's like one type sharing, and you just tap and say share it with your team, and then they start sharing with your prospects. So and then you start gaining insights. It's as simple as that. And when I say Docker Zoom, and I said that it's a product offering which is latest to our product stack, uh, it's also a good idea for me to kind of tell you what Hurix is all about, and what is it that we've been doing for the last more than a decade. Uh, we are an organization that has a history of producing path-breaking products, and also being able to offer high-end service offerings to various verticals across the globe. We've got a huge client base. Some other products that we have is one of them is called Kitabu. Kitabu is an e-textbook platform that is being adopted by major publishers and corporations and institutions and professional training organizations across the globe. Uh, it's a platform that lets you convert your content, make it interactive, then be able to distribute it to your end users, and then your end users can start consuming that content on across various platforms. Now, this typically works well with publishers who have an ebook strategy or an e-textbook strategy that they want to implement, and Kitabu lets them kind of do that end to end, so that they don't need to have multiple solutions in place to be able to address that. It's a product that has won various awards, and it continues to be a path-breaking product across a lot of industry segments. From a services point of view, we are an organization that has been in various kind of services for about 15 years now. Uh, we do services both in terms of custom content creation, and then we also have digital education solutions. We do LMS solutions and implementations. We also do services related to Flash to HTML5, etc. So we're an organization that comes with a great amount of background in terms of both services and product business. And as I said, with Docket Zoom, I think it is one of the products that we've come up with, which is seeing a lot of traction even today, and I think it's not too long that it's going to form an industry standard for sales heads as a tool that needs to be adopted for sales enablement. Uh, just another very high level view into Hurix. So we're, like I said, we're about more than 15 years of experience in the industry. Uh, we work with great brands. We work with large, huge brands across the globe. Now, I did say that we work with publishing companies and corporations at a larger level. So, across the board. So, if you look at the publishing companies and you take the top 5, we probably work with almost all of them in some of the other areas, either product or services. You look at large corporates, Fortune 500, we work with a lot of them, both again in terms of product and services offerings. And so that's a little background for us. We've got customers across 20 plus countries. We've got uh, which kind of covers most parts of the world. So we've got customers across the US, Europe, Asia Pacific, Middle Eastern region, and so on and so forth. So that's a little brief about our organization and the product that we wanted to discuss about today. We've deliberately tried to keep it, short and keep it very targeted, this webinar and this presentation, so that we're able to communicate the right uh, features of the product. Uh, what is really exciting is that we're, despite of being launching this product just a couple of months back, we're seeing a lot of traction, and which is obviously very exciting, and it makes a lot of sense for us to pursue this even further. And I think that, and I believe that you would have found this demonstration relevant to your specific areas. And it'll be a pleasure for us to, go ahead and, kind of do a demonstration of the product to you. Uh, and we're open to, kind of giving free trials as needed, and so that you can take a look and play around with the platform for a couple of weeks maybe, and then once you're satisfied, we go ahead and sign up. Uh, as the product is straightforward and simple, the engagement model for this product is also pretty simple and straightforward. So it's a SaaS platform, and uh, it's a licensing model. So it's pretty straightforward. You just adopt the platform the way it is, and just start using it. So it's completely plug and play. So I think that's about it from my side, and I'm open to taking your questions if you have any. And you can start typing in your questions now. I'll be happy to answer them. Okay, so I think we've got our first question. The question is that, can this be integrated with internal CRM systems of an organization? Okay, the answer to that is yes. Okay, if you look at Docket Zoom, there are two kinds of implementations that can probably take place. So there is a professional version wherein we are that's pure plug and play kind of an option, where you just enroll to the platform, start using it the way it is. Then, of course, there is an enterprise version where we look at possibilities of integrating it with existing CRM systems. Let it be Salesforce or Microsoft Dynamics or Sugar CRM and things like that. But that's, of course, an enterprise version, and kind of comes with its own caveats. But yes, the answer to your question is yes. It can happen. Okay, I think we've got another question. Is there a limit to the number of users that can access this? No, there is no. No, there is no limit. So if you kind of sign up for Docket Zoom, and you're a sales head and you've got a team of about 50 sales guys on the ground, and each of them has, say, 100 prospects, that's fine. There is no issue, and tomorrow they might have another 100 or maybe 1,000 prospects. So of course, there is no limit to the number of users that you can put on the platform. However, I mean, from a commercial standpoint and from a price point standpoint, there are certain limits that we define for a particular cost as a subscription to the platform. But from a practical purpose, you could have millions of users on this, and that can be supported. So there's no problem. And for that matter, it'll be good if you can just, I think we've got your email ID, and we can kind of continue this conversation offline once we are done with the presentation, so that we can talk in detail, both in terms of how the pricing models kind of work, and what are the user limits that can be given for what kind of price. But like I said, it could be any number of users, no problem. Okay, I think we're done with the questions. Uh, One second. Is there another question? I can't see that. One second. One second. Okay, I think there's another question. How do startup consulting firm may benefit from this? You focus on this IT. Could you give example from core industry, particularly energy sector? Okay, so the first thing that I like to put on record. So I would just read out the question for everybody's sake. It is how do startup consulting firm may benefit from this? You focus this on IT. Could you give example from core industry, particularly in energy sector? Okay, so like I said, I think I just need to clarify this a little better. It The product is applicable to any sales head or any sales guy working for any particular energy, industry. Let it be energy, or let it be manufacturing, or let it be pharmaceuticals, or any particular industry. The product is agnostic to the industry that you belong to. It is a product that helps sales guy in any particular domain perform better and enable and perform better, and obviously for sales heads to have better sales enablement across their teams. Now, even if you're a startup firm and you're a 5 people team who are on the ground and doing sales, from your perspective, you still need to get a view into what your prospects are doing on the content that you share with them. That content could be brochures or collaterals or corporate presentations or proposals, right? The beauty of it is that you're able to get insights back on how your prospects are behaving on that document. Now, that is absolutely irrespective of what industry that you belong to or what size of organization do you belong to. So Docket Zoom is applicable to an organization that has a 500 people sales force split across the globe, or an organization that's got 2 sales guys doing domestic sales in any country, right, or a city. It could be from any vertical for that matter. So it's a tool that helps you do sales enablement better, right? Enables your sales guys to track consumption on prospect size, as well as for the sales heads to monitor their guys and the prospects, irrespective of any vertical or geography. I hope that answers your question. All right. So I think that's about it. We don't have any more questions now. So I thank you all for joining us today for this webinar, for this presentation. I hope you got a decent amount of insights into what we wanted to discuss today, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation. We'll be happy to arrange a demonstration for you, as I said, and we're going to also share the recording of this webinar and the document and the presentation that we've used in this webinar. We'll be happy to get in touch with you. Please feel free to write back to us, and we can take it forward from there. I hope to talk to each of you again very soon. Thank you very much for your time. Have a great day ahead. Thanks. Bye-bye.